Hello, Daniel. Good to see you. How comfortable was that for Jack Draper?
Yeah, I mean, hello, Chris, first of all. And I mean, that was mightily impressive by Jack Draper. I mean, I don't think anyone going to Louis Armstrong thought that Draper would be able to put away. So, Tomas Machac is a very tricky player, very skillful, has a very good all-round game, was going to put him away, in straight sets, and to have only dropped one service game in that match, mightily impressive. I think, Jack Draper mentioned in his post-match on court that maybe Machac wasn't quite at the levels expected, but he also said he's playing at a really high level, and he felt, you could see in it how the way he played was full of confidence, and I think that's what we've seen Jack Draper throughout the US Open so far. As I mentioned, mightily impressive, and he becomes the first British men's player to make the US quarterfinals, the US Open quarterfinals since 2016, and that man was Sir Andy Murray. And we know this year has been such a significant year in the men's game with Sir Andy Murray retiring at the Olympics. He had that farewell at Wimbledon as well, but the way Jack Draper has been able to pick up the baton as such and perform like he did, very, very impressive, and he had the American crowd behind him as well.
It has a predictor, and ahead of this match it was 48% Draper, 52% Machac. They couldn't split them, and Jack Draper has made an absolute mockery of that. He'd never gone past round 2 at a slam. So what's changed?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, I think part of that predictor would have been that Machac had a kind of 3-0 record against Draper. They met each other earlier this year in Geneva, and he had the better of Draper in straight sets, but it was only the best of 3 on that occasion, as it was one of the ATP tournaments. But I think when you look at what Draper's been able to achieve in the last 12 months, he mentioned again, last time he was on Louis Armstrong, he lost against Andrei Rublev this time last year in the same round, but the circumstances couldn't be further apart. He was 123rd in the world this time last year. He had missed Wimbledon through injury. He missed 3 months of the calendar through a shoulder injury, and he wasn't that comfortable in his body, physically and also mentally, wondering how far could he push his body at that point. But I think a year on, he's really, I would say, just confidence has been the key thing. I think winning his first ATP event in June in Stuttgart was a huge confidence booster. He became the British men's #1, overtaking Cam Norrie as well, and he just had some really positive experiences. Remember, he replaced Andy Murray on centre court last minute due to his injury. That was a great occasion for him. He then lost to Cam Norrie in the next round, but again, really important experiences for Jack Draper, and I think you've seen the confidence he's brought to the US Open. He's not dropped a set yet. He's only lost 2 service games across 4 matches. I mean, he's looking in really, I don't want to say incredible, I don't want to go too far, but it is very, very impressive. And actually, when you look at the men's draw, it's really opening up when you think the likes of Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz have already been knocked out.
Well, yeah, big shocks so far that we have seen with those big names going. So what is next for Draper on his mission throughout Flushing Meadows?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he'll find out his opponent in the quarterfinals later this evening here in New York, because 2 Aussies, it's the battle of the Aussies, Jordan Thompson against the 10th seed Alex de Minaur. So Jack Draper will find out who he'll be playing on Wednesday. But I think on paper, they're both, of course, very good players. It's not a certainty who the favourite of that one is. I think Jack Draper will really fancy the way he's playing against either of them, really. I mean, the way he's serving at the moment, last time I saw Tomas Machac's return statistics on his first serve, it was incredibly low in terms of what he was able to return, because Draper looked so impressive, and his forehand, again, perhaps his 2 biggest strengths, look really sharp, really fine, and whoever he plays next could be in trouble. Also worth noting, Jannik Sinner, the world #1, he won the Australian Open earlier this year as well, Chris. If he comes through his match tonight, and we're talking what ifs now, but he wins his quarterfinal, Draper could meet him in a semi-final. Who knows? That's going too far, but Jack Draper's going to enjoy the moment the way he's been playing, and he deserves it, because he's given all of us back home a bit of belief in terms of the men's draw, and he's just been mightily impressive the way he's dealt with it all as well.
He certainly has. Thank you, Dan.